change the world through travel,
People are good. I believe in the general goodness of people.
to play and have fun and enjoy life and help other people do the same, right?
We're only on this planet for a short time. I don't know where we came from. I don't know where we're going after this, but my whole why in life is just to kind of be a witness to this place that I've been dropped upon, to see it, to appreciate it.
To figure out who you want to be in the world.
Today's episode is on curiosity, one of those important things that is mentioned in the book Eyes of Wonder. One of those childlike qualities that we would do best to maintain into our adulthood. And our guest today, I thought of her immediately for this subject. This is Chris Vitale. And the three of us have two things in common. All three of us are teachers and have been drama teachers, and all three of us are actors. So that's how we met. We did shows together in Colorado. But Chris is coming to us right now from Japan. So it's evening for Roberta and me. And it is 9 a.m. or it's the morning
Yeah, it's
for
a morning,
over
9:20.
there. So I know that you're curious because you're always posting things about the stuff you're doing in Japan. You're not just over there teaching, you're over there exploring, you're checking out musical things, dramatic things, nature, all of it. So, before we get into all of that, can you start out just by telling us how you came to be teaching in Japan?
Sure. I started teaching in Colorado, about 7 years there. And my friend suggested, who had been overseas, she's like, well, why don't you try international teaching? And I was like, what? And so I went to a job fair in Iowa, and my first gig was Africa. And
Wow.
I never expected it in my wildest dreams. I did 2 years in Ghana, 5 years in Mumbai, India, and now I'm in Nagoya, Japan. And so I've just been traveling around the world, and it's been just an incredible journey. And to be able to teach the subject I love of theater to international students is just beyond my wildest dreams.
It's
I'm
amazing.
so glad that you happened upon it because that's probably not something that most of us would just set out to do. Like, here's what I'm going to do. But you just kind
Yeah,
of
it was.
followed your nose or your heart and wound up where you are. And I love that you're loving it. So, what are the things that you like the best about being in Japan? Not just teaching there, but just being there.
Sure. Oh my gosh. I love four seasons. I've been in tropics for so long, and I'm a cold weather person. The nature here is amazing. I've been to the beach area, I've been to the up to the mountains, and I love nature. I've camped again. I bought a whole bunch of camping equipment. And Japanese in general love nature. They love camping. So there's tons of camping to do. Skiing, I don't ski anymore, but just getting into the snow. I love the food. I've always loved sushi and fresh. Everything is fresh. I love my colleagues are great. The kids are great. So really, this is the culture of this country is amazing. You said I went, I'm always looking for new things. I went to Kodo drumming last night, and I went to a Kyogen performance 2 weeks ago. So I am just soaking up the culture of Japan tremendously. And I went to Hiroshima like 4 weeks ago. So just soaking up the culture. Yeah.
Getting the history, the culture, and the nature. And it's pretty easy to get
Yeah.
around there, right? Like the transportation's pretty efficient.
Transportation is amazing. I have my own car, which does help. But I can get anywhere on a train, subway, the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. I got to Hiroshima in about 2.5 hours, and that's normally either a flight or like an 8 hour drive. So, and I got there in 2.5 hours
Oh my,
on the train. So super efficient. Everything's clean. Even public bathrooms are spotless. They recycle everything. It's just an amazing country. Yeah.
I have a student that I was just able to talk with this today, and she was on her university exchange program, in Japan and just loved it. And she said, I've never felt so safe.
Super safe, super safe. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Why do you think that you could say that that happens there?
I think it's the culture. The big thing when I went to Hiroshima, just knowing all that history and being in that city, the city is now the peace city.
Hmm.
And so they took that tragedy and flipped it. And I forget, it was another, not the Edo area, but whatever it was like in the 40s or 50s. I don't know the quite history, but they basically it was like, we're going to change our society from being, samurais with cutting heads off and whatever, and back in the 1500s, but we're now going to be a peace country.
Hmm.
It's so zen here, it's just the whole culture of being polite and being kind and honor. I mean, everybody bows to each other.
Hmm.
And when they give you a receipt, they present a receipt, they present money. I mean, that's what they do. And getting on a subway, they part, everybody goes off, then they come together and everybody comes on. There's no shoving, there's no pushing, it's just politeness. They let you in when you're making a left-hand turn. I mean, cars let you in the lane and it's go ahead. I mean, it's politeness and kindness.
Honor
It's
and like family honor. Like they don't want to bring shame on their family. So
absolutely. I mean, we always think of that when we think of Japanese. It's really true. It's the honor. It's
Hmm.
amazing.
but
Yeah.
when I was there, I also noticed a lot of attention to just all the senses. So the food, they'll bring small portions and it's beautiful. The food is really
Yes.
beautiful to look at and you eat it slowly. Although I think you're allowed to slurp your noodles there, right? Is
Yes, you
that
can slurp your soup. That is okay.
and that's a way of enjoying it. And so texture of the food is important, the way that it's presented, the healthiness of it, and the colors, the taste. And then I
Oh
saw
yeah, the color's
lots of
gorgeous.
creativity in clothing. I would see traditional kimonos along with the girls in the Harajuku, just crazy outfits with huge spiders on their backs. And I really loved that. Here, it feels like everybody's dressed pretty much the same. There's just so many colors and things to see. And the lights of on the buildings, especially in Tokyo, and also the mix of old and new. They're just like smashed up right next to each other. So
Yeah, you walk along in the streets of Nagoya, and all of a sudden, that's why I love walking. And you turn, oh, there's a shrine, cool, or there's a temple, and so they've got all these pockets of history. The modern and the old is incredible. Yeah.
Roberta and I talk all the time about a big piece of curiosity is curiosity about other people. So not just subjects and history, but the people that are right in front of you every day. We don't really do that enough. And so we make assumptions about people or we think somebody doesn't like us and we've just never even bothered to be curious about them. So we're always fighting for let's be curious about other humans. And that's why I love travel so much, is getting to find out about the people that live there and what is their life like. Were you always curious or do you feel like that increased when you got to Japan?
Oh, I have always been curious. From when I was little, I've always loved international travel. I grew up with National Geographic magazine. My mom literally, we had like a whole bookshelf of, 20 years of National Geographic. My dad was a pilot with Pan Am,
Wow.
so I got to travel. I
Nice.
went to Brazil. I lived in England. So my dad, in fact, my dad, the first time I ever went to Tokyo was in ninth grade, and we came for 4 days. My dad was flying the plane, and so we came here for 4 days, and we spent New Year's in Tokyo.
Oh,
So it took me 30 years to get back, but here I am in Japan, and so I always loved other cultures. My dad was always bringing presents from all over the world. He brought us, you know, stuff from Alaska, boots from Alaska and lederhosen from Germany. And so we always had that cultural stuff in our
Mm.
home. Just I've always been an avid reader about everything. I read all the time. So, and the next one I'm gonna read is this
Yay.
book.
Yay!
I'm interested.
Inside of that to us.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Look
Yeah,
how it
it
came. This is
says
so exciting.
printed. Can we get that? Let's see.
I think, yep, there it
Printed
is,
in
printed in
Japan.
Japan. That is
So
amazing.
international.
Yay!
I'm wondering when you got there, how did you figure out all these things that you were going to do? Like, did you research it? Are you just like serendipitously whatever falls in front of you? Or how do you get the ideas for what you're doing over there?
Oh, sure. I mean, as far as like travel and stuff.
Well, like you were doing
Or
bonsai trees, I saw, and you
yes.
you were doing
Okay,
some
yeah.
kind of
A,
dance
a
thing.
lot of it is just talking to my colleagues, for the ones who have been here and not only the expats but the locals as well. And we have a social listserv on our thing. And we actually got when we were hired, I was hired in March and we got our email right away, which was really unusual. Usually schools wait to give you an email until you get closer to school time. But we were able to connect before we even got to Japan. And so I was, what's good to do? And so people are like, yeah. And we share things all the time. Hey, I found this website and there's this festival, next weekend. And so we're always sharing ideas. And the bonsai, and I did bonsai, and I did taiko drumming. Good, so we're always sharing all these festivals and everything. And then I have, my Lonely Planet book and my eyewitness whatever. So I have all the information, and it's just really just talking to other expats and say, well, what'd you do this weekend? Oh yeah, I went 4 hours to this place, and this is a place to go in the mountains. And so it's just sharing information.
Sometimes when our world feels fractured and we have so many things to do, we forget to enjoy this one life we are given. Eyes of Wonder Journeys creates opportunities for travel and discovery. Two performing arts teachers, Laurie Gabriel and Roberta Hamilton Criggs, have formed a tour company that is focused on guiding travelers to some of the world's most iconic destinations. By exploring new places with curiosity and an open mind, we can uncover meaningful ways to enrich our lives. Through our eclectic tours and our new podcast, we meet a wide range of people who help us appreciate the opportunities our world provides. By looking through the lens of wonder, we believe we can find and share great joy.
Yeah.
I would
So
like to be more spontaneous. I'm this huge planner, as much as I
yeah.
love the world through eyes of wonder, but it's all planned, and it kind of
Yes. Yeah.
diminishes, it takes away from the trip a little bit when I'm thinking about, okay, how do I get to the next thing? But my favorite thing that I did in Tokyo, we just decided to hire a rickshaw, and it was a girl just pulling you. Like she wasn't riding a bike. She was just
Yeah.
running, pulling
Oh,
two
really?
of us,
Okay.
two of us. And we said, just take you wherever you think is cool. And so she starts running, and we end up at this amusement park. It's this ancient amusement park, like from the turn of the century, and these really old rides and stuff. And it was the most charming thing. I didn't see it in the guidebooks. I never would have planned it. And it was one of my favorite things we did. And then
Was it open?
it was open. Yeah, we went on the rides and
Oh,
everything.
that's
I'll
And
have to
amazing.
check. I'll have
yeah,
to check into that.
and we saw some street performance art. And we went to the Hello Kitty Sanrio land because I'm
Oh,
huge Hello Kitty. And it was scary because we were not finding a lot of English instructions on that. So
ah.
we were not sure if we were getting off the train in the right place. We were having trouble. This was before the apps, the language apps and everything. And
Oh,
somehow we
okay.
found it. And then we went to Tokyo Disney and they were giving all the directions in Japanese. So we're like, okay, we don't know what you're saying. But, but the adventure part of it, it was just so fun.
With it. Yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you've eaten?
I've eaten pickled octopus, like a teriyaki octopus, and there was one other time I tried it. It's very, very chewy, very hard to eat. The one time it tasted almost like it was like the texture of a beef jerky, but I tried all three ways and I'm just not a fan. It's just too hard, too chewy.
You got to
No.
eat it while it's still alive. I've seen people doing that.
Oh dear
Like,
God, no.
well, it's like
No,
suction cupping onto
no,
their
no,
lips,
no, no, no.
moving
I
around.
try I tried the oyster. I did try the oyster, but it wasn't a raw oyster. It was cooked. Um, there's an island down by Hiroshima that's famous for their oysters. And I found some tempura and I bit into something because I'm like, oh, what is this? I bit into it. I'm like, oh, this is an oyster. And I love clams and I love mussels and I love scallop. Not an oyster fan.
Mm-mm.
It was too fishy for me. So those are the only two foods that I was like, not so good. But
Is
I've
it,
tried pretty much anything. It was good.
have you
But
tried
yeah,
the
the food's
karaoke
so
there?
yeah. Oh yes, I've done karaoke once only. Can you believe it? There's Joy Joy, which is a karaoke place right around the corner from us, and a bunch of us went there one night, and and it's so different from bars, in America because you actually rent a room for like an hour or 2 hours. We had rented it for 3 hours, and we did unlimited drinks. So that was a good package.
I think when
Right.
it comes to curiosity, a lot of people think they don't have time for it. So what would you
Mm.
say to somebody who feels like I'm too busy? I'm too busy to be curious. I can't go do bonsai.
You got to make the time. I mean, especially with teachers, the work-life balance, it's been different in every country I've been to. I feel like I've been kinder to myself being here. But I do say to myself, okay, this weekend I'm not grading, or this evening I'm not doing work. And you just got to make that time. And, the bonsai thing was like 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon. And it
Mhm.
was lovely. And I do that. And I go to church on Sundays and I take the 40-minute ride in because it's an English mass. And then I take a couple of hours to walk around Nagoya. And that's my wellness time, And in India, I did yoga twice a week. So it's making that time, it's finding that balance, and you just have to be kind to yourself,
You
or
know,
else you're
it's
doing
so interesting
yourself
because when I hear
harm.
you talk about teaching in another country, of course you're going to do yoga
Mm.
when you're in India, right? But I mean, of course you're going to go skiing or or do snowshoeing or something when you're in Colorado, but we don't. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
we're not curious about the very place that we are because at teachers, we work a lot. Um, but I think that I love that you just said that because I'm thinking, well, there's so many things to be curious about in my backyard. I need to make that happen.
It doesn't have to be time consuming. So in my book, I have little things you can check off, and I designed it because I'm busy, where it's just things that take 5 minutes. So take 5 minutes and scroll about something, or, like, I mean, Google something, or yeah, take 5 minutes and crack a rock open and look inside, or or just go watch some ants for a little while. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment, just have it be top of mind. Like, I am a curious person. I want to know more about this. It'll take me 5 minutes to find out.
So I am curious, what kinds of animals are in your mountains?
Ooh, that's a good question. Lots of birds. I love watching birds, and there's some really great birds here. There were amazing birds in Ghana. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
The West African birds are incredible. A bunch of weeks ago, yeah, back in September, I went to Lake Biwa, and that was west of me about an hour and a half. And I went on this mountain, Ikibayama, which is Ikiba Mountain. And the campground, all of a sudden, everybody in the campground was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And they were doing flashlights. I'm like, "What are you looking at?" It was a flying squirrel. And I forget the name of it. It was like Musabama or something like that. And they had a flashlight and you could see the eyes. And it was this, and the guy showed me He looked it up on his phone and he showed me what it was, and he's like, it's this, and I'm like, oh, that, because I mean, because I thought there was like a bat up in the trees, because this was at night. I thought, oh, is there like a bat up there? I can hear something flying, and all the campers are like, look, and it was a flying squirrel.
Oh.
So that's
Something else that I found interesting in Japan was the gadgets, like just all the different types of products you can buy. Is
oh
there
my
like some
gosh.
product that you
Yes.
have discovered?
Yes, the stores, they have all these little weird gadget things, and then they have these I don't know what they're called, but whole stores of them where you put your coin in and you get something in a little ball, and
Oh
then you
yeah,
open the
yeah.
ball and it's a little trinket. I
Yeah.
forget the name of the stores. Oh my God, they're all over the place. I'm like, it's like, in America we have the vending machines that give you the surprise in the ball. No, they have full stores of these things.
Oh, oh, my
It's
daughters would
so
love that. They would have loved
yes,
that.
and I forget the names of the stores, but yeah, the innovation and it's like, why didn't I think of that? And
I
in here.
follow a couple of Instagrammers in Japan and they're
Wow.
campers. Like you said, they like to camp. And so they'll have this pop-up tent, like it just this inflatable tent, and then suddenly there's an inflatable couch, and then they've got a little cooking stove, a little portable thing, and a little juice maker, and all the comforts of home in their little inflatable tent. And I'm just like, I want to go to Japan and get all these cool things.
Yeah, and the other thing I found when I went camping is, and I took pictures of it. It's hilarious. These the This group of kids came down for the day, and the campground I had was literally, there was like 10 sites, super tiny, and it was right on a river, and this whole group of young people came in. They had a portable sauna.
Oh my.
I am not kidding. And I went up to them and I was they have the saunas that are like tents, but they literally built a sauna and put it on the back of this guy's truck. And I said, "Is that a sauna?" Because it had a stovepipe out of it. I thought it was like a tiny home. It looked like a tiny home. What is that? Because they spoke English, and it's a sauna. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I opened it up, sure enough. And he goes, yeah, this guy built it. I'm like, you built a sauna to be put on the. And they came down and they went in the river, and then they went in the sauna, and then they went in the river and went. That's what they do. Again, it's that whole Zen. It's relaxing. They're very high-powered businessmen, but then they do this onsen thing, and all the women do their onsen, and it's a big deal.
My
Yeah.
question is that, different place, you go to different places, like people say, people in New York are not nice. I have always found them to be generous and lovely. I love New Yorkers. People in Seattle, there's the Seattle freeze, right? It's really hard to get to know people. I've never
Mhm.
lived there, so I don't know, but they seem nice enough. But I've kind of heard some rumors about that in terms of just it's difficult to get to know people there.
Japanese people are very willing to help you. And again, it's a face, it's a face thing. It's like they don't want to disappoint you. And so, even like going to a store, they're always, oh, can I help you, and make sure, and they're very quick about things. But yeah, I've gotten to know them definitely on a colleague level for sure. I mean, everybody is just, I love everybody in my school. They're just really friendly. Trying to get outside of that bubble has been a little difficult. There is a theater company that I'm trying to figure out if I have the time to get together with, because it's a community theater company.
Oh,
And yeah, and actually one of my colleagues, she's an English teacher. She was Lady Capulet in Romeo and Juliet. Yep. And she did it for 9 months on Sundays. And so I brought students to watch her, and we gave her flowers, and she had never done theater before. And she's in her
wow.
40s. She's Indian, and she tried out, and I was like, "Oh my God, you are a risk taker." And it was so lovely to see her on stage. She did a really nice job. And yeah, so I was like, I'm so proud. It was just great. And we support each other. We brought the students. They're like, "Oh my
Mm,
God, Miss Jones on stage." It was so cool. So there is that outlet. In Ghana, I mean, I was in an international choir, I was in an international theater company, so I was able to do that in Ghana. India, I was with an improv jam group that I went to on Saturdays. So that was like one thing I could do. Uh, but here, hopefully this year I can get out a little bit more and maybe be involved in that particular company. So Nagoya players. So I'm hoping. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so great. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
as actors, we're just naturally curious about other people because we have to study other people to
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
see how we can embody that, so we're lucky
Yeah.
about in that way.
Definitely.
And the Japanese are lovely people.
I found
That's
that
not an
too. I
issue.
found them to be friendly at every encounter, really.
Don't you think
Absolutely.
just generally people are good? I mean, there are those who aren't, but I think mostly people are good.
Yeah, I think, hate is taught and love is taught. And you got to have that in your family. You've just got to and being curious about other people, like you said. I mean, I've always been an international person, so it's innate in me. But other people who I talk to my friends, and it's like, yeah, I never been out of Vermont. I'm like, well, there's a whole world out there. So I always encourage people to you don't have stories to tell if you don't make those stories.
Beautiful.
And I know Lori knows that more than anybody because, I watch her, I'm always say, you're so amazing. You do all these countries. And she's like, yeah, but you're living there and you're amazing. And it's like, people say, I
But I'm
talk too
always
much.
scared.
I've
I'm
got
always
stories to
scared when
tell.
I start a new country before every trip. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And once you're there, you're like, why was I scared? Everything's fine.
It's a lot like going
Yeah.
on stage, isn't it? I mean, I'm always terrified before I walk on stage, and then right? And then you
Yeah.
do.
And
And you're like,
yeah,
this is cool. I guess this is why I do that. Yeah.
right. I tell my kids, I get nervous all the time. It's like, oh, I got stage fright. I'm like, trust me, you get out there and you get your claps, you're gonna feel something totally different. And
Yeah,
and enough, they do.
they do. And then
They
they get the
do.
bug, just like they get the travel bug, right? It's
Mhm.
something that we just need after we've done it a few times. So that's really
Yeah.
great.
Ignite your curiosity with Eyes of Wonder Journeys. Our tours are planned with the goal of being curious about people, places, and things, no matter where we find ourselves. Whether we're taking a historic ghost tour, finding out what it takes to be an Olympic athlete, or learning how to paint from a professional artist, we make sure you have plenty of opportunities to discover new things. You might even learn something about yourself. Go to eyesofwonderjourneys.com to find out what's coming up on the schedule. We hope to see you soon.